Pep Guardiola has ruined the game, and it's because his positional play tactics, they're predictable, boring, and they take all the flair and creativity out of the game. Everyone is now just playing his system, and it's predictable and boring. There's no more creativity, no more individual brilliance, and of course, no more long balls. And this is what I actually think's coming out of this. I have to go back to this tweet by Matt Doyle. Pep civilized the English and they hate him for it. Since arriving in 2016, Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola hasn't just built a juggernaut, he's revolutionized English soccer. More short passes, fewer long balls, and increased emphasis in possession. And you look at this graph, it's pretty stark. But to be completely honest, Matt Doyle's not even correct, because to blame Pep Guardiola for that is just not accurate as well. This is something that's been happening for a while, and it probably started with Arsene Wenger, who in my opinion is actually the best coach of all time in the English Premier League. He brought in a European style of passing soccer, which took Arsenal to be the closest competitor to Manchester United. Also, he had the undefeated Invincibles season. But more importantly than that, not every coach in every team is playing the Manchester City system. This is just not true. And I'll give a few examples. Jurgen Klopp, who was Pep's biggest rival as a manager in the Premier League during his time at Liverpool, is known for what he calls heavy metal football. Heavy metal football is best described like this. Arsene Wenger, likes to have the ball playing football. Passes. It's like an orchestra, but it's a silent song. But I like heavy metal more. I always want it loud. And the reason he does this is because his style is not about control and passing and being relaxed during the game. It's high intensity. He uses gegenpressing and counterattacking soccer. It's much more end-to-end. To where Pep Guardiola and Arsene Wenger like to be in control at all times, Jurgen Klopp likes to create chaos at times and then capitalize on that chaos with his superior players and tactics. But he's not the only one. Carlo Ancelotti, who is arguably the most successful manager still in the game, actually more successful than Pep Guardiola, and he's been doing it a lot longer. Pep Guardiola does not really play a specific system. He instead tailors the way his teams play based on the talent on the field. And it's a lot less positional than Pep Guardiola. His players are encouraged to be creative, move where they like, and to use individual flair and creativity when they need to. Then we got the extreme radical end of the spectrum. We have to go to Brazil for this one. Fernando Diniz, the former Brazil interim manager and Fluminense manager, who won Copa Libertadores with an almost completely apositional style that threw out the rule book of positional play to where you had to spread the field and have options and make the game as wide as possible. He oftentimes tilted his players to be all on one side of the field, close together to create connections to where they could play almost street soccer in professional matches in 11-sided soccer. And it's some of the most beautiful soccer to watch. Look up some of Fluminense relationism with Fernando Diniz. It's beautiful to see, and it's not just happening in Brazil. There are teams in Europe that are adopting some of the principles of his style of play as well. But at the end of the day, this was always just an overreaction by people that don't like the new way that soccer has evolved. But here's the thing. Evolution is almost always an arms race. People will come up with new ideas, and then new ideas will come up to counter those ideas. And if anything, what Pep Guardiola has done more than anyone else is he has killed the idea of defensive, negative soccer and long balls being one of the best ways to win at the highest levels. And that's what I think a lot of people, especially in England, but not just England, don't like about it. They like the old school English Premier League from the 90s and early 2000s, which was much more direct. Most teams played a 4-4-2, and we didn't see possession as the primary source of controlling the games and trying to win games. But even if you think that Pep Guardiola's style of soccer is boring, which is a fair critique, because here's the thing, That's subjective. Your personal preference is up to you. And I'm not going to lie. I actually did find some of the Barcelona teams. Also, I found Spain's 2010 team to not exactly be the most exciting team in the world because passing for passing's sake, it's not what we want to see. However, as with all tactical trends, they come and go over time. And we are going to see new ones developed in the future, which will be a counter to Pep's positional play. It's not going to be stagnant just because that is the norm today. In the future, it's not even impossible we could see a return to more direct long ball style games. Now, I highly doubt that, and I actually would be against seeing that development, but it's not an impossibility. At the end of the day, has Pep Guardiola ruined soccer? Absolutely not. Pep Guardiola has contributed greatly to soccer's evolution, and I love him for it.